Welcome to the fourth and final season of Enki, Tales from the Past. I am Moses, the Chosen One, whispering from the shadows of this intricate saga. As we walk on this concluding chapter, we stand at the edge of destiny, where whispers in the dark mold the futures of nations. Every move, every deception, every hard-fought battle holds the weight of divine purpose and mortal ambition. In this season, the pillars of power will shake, and the true puppeteers shall be revealed. I urge you to engage with the author, Mário Portela. Share your thoughts, reach out through the channels available, and let your voice be heard in this grand epic. You are a thread in this intricate tapestry, and your presence enriches our story. This is Moses, welcoming you to another episode of Enki Tales from the Past, Season 4. And so, let us begin.
This is Enki, Tales from the Past. This audio drama is authored, edited, and produced by Mário Portela.
That evening, I visited the Hebrew quarters, my heart feigning concern as I stepped into the dimly lit space. Faces gaunt with fatigue turned toward me, eyes shining with desperation.
Moses,
One voice trembled, rising above the murmurs.
why has Pharaoh made our burdens heavier? We believed you would save us.
I raised my hands, palm outward, a gesture of false tranquility. I understand your suffering, my brothers and sisters. This is but a trial that our God prepares us for, so be faithful and patient.
Faith?
Another voice echoed.
We've seen nothing but suffering. Is this your promise?
The sorrowful gaze of the onlookers momentarily pierced my steel-hard resolve. Had they begun to question my role, my purpose? In that moment, I felt the weight of their despair pressing down on me like the Nile's relentless floodwaters. Do not lose hope, I called out, attempting to rally their spirits. Our God has not forgotten us. He has promised deliverance. Trust in Him, and He shall fulfill His covenant. But even as I spoke, the voices in my mind murmured, pushing me to seek greater assurance. Alone in my chambers later that night, I fell to my knees before the burning hood of an altar. The embers glowed, eager for communication. My Lord, I implored, why do you allow further suffering of your people? My promised people is abandoning me, abandoning you. A voice, a familiar yet commands the utmost respect, rose from the flickering flames, vibrating in my bones.
Moses, I am with you. I have seen their affliction and heard their cries. You shall lead my people to freedom. I shall give you the words to speak. It is time. You will go before Pharaoh again.
Renewed conviction surged within me. What shall I say, Lord?
Tell him that I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He will know my presence. Perform the signs I give you, and let him know
prepared to return to Pharaoh. Aaron accompanied me, his brow knitted with worry.
Do you believe he will heed your message?
I turned to him, the gleam of ambition igniting in my gaze. He must, or he will, face the consequences of his defiance. The palace felt a different atmosphere as we entered. The tension crackled in the air, drawing whispers from the assembled courtiers and scribes. Pharaoh reclined on his throne, ropes of gold and jewels glittering about him, but his eyes held the storm of defiance within. "Aaron," I commanded, "show Pharaoh the sign." I watched as Aaron threw down his staff, and his rod transformed into a serpent, dancing across the smooth marble floor. Pharaoh's expression shifted slightly, surprised, yet unperturbed. His magicians leaped to action, eager to best the spectacle. They threw their staffs, mirroring the trick with serpents of their own. Laughter erupted in the court, but its mirth was short-lived. As Aaron's serpent slithered forward, it devoured their snakes, a visceral representation of the superiority of our God's will. Pharaoh masked his ire behind a facade of indifference.
I see your tricks. Your false god does not impress me, Moses. You waste my time.
I stepped forward, my voice firm yet smooth. The Lord God, Yahweh, demands you let his people go, lest you face his wrath. The words hung heavy, the echoes of past indignation simmering in me.
What if I refuse?
Pharaoh challenged, crossing his arms, the shadows deepening around him. The Nile will turn to blood. Its waters will fail you, and all shall suffer. Pharaoh's eyes narrowed, skepticism lacing his voice.
A mere threat, with no tangible proof.
Believing in my power and the promise bestowed upon me, I turned to Aaron. "Let it be done." With a wave of my hand, the staff was raised over the fertile banks as Aaron summoned the curse. The river rippled in horrific transformation. Its waters rose, tainted red, swirling as if echoing the agony of mourning. Despair settled around the palace. Plague and pestilence threatened all of Egypt. Pharaoh's heart hardened, anger flaring in his chest.
You've done this to me to mock the might of the crown. I will not heed your demands, nor will I free the slaves.
I watched as panic spread among the Egyptian people. Water supplies dwindled, disease flourished, thirsty mouths offering prayers that went unheard. Defiance punctuated the torn fabric of my effort, only urging me onward.
A matter of mere insects,
He scoffed as gnats covered his court, a flurry of agitation. Flies swarmed next. A foul cloud of wrath descended upon Egypt, but like a protective shield, the land of Goshen remained untouched. I relished the distinction.
Let them die.
Pharaoh spat, his pride undeterred, stepping over the bodies of his livestock. Those faithful beasts that had served without complaint. Pharaoh still hurls his suspicions at my people, I questioned, stewing in righteous anger. Each plague that followed was more devastating than the last. Frogs invaded every corner of Egyptian life, leaving the palace ankle deep in writhing amphibians.
See how easily they break?
The voices mocked.
Watch their pride crumble.
Painful boils afflicted Egypt, casting a shadow of guilt over Pharaoh's arrogance. Whatever stoicism remained in him cracked as the hailstorm ravaged the crops with no mercy. His admissions of sin were quickly swallowed again by his hardened resolve.
Spare us, and I will let your people go.
He uttered in a moment of vulnerability. But relief quickly quelled those sentiments. The plagues progressed as locusts swept across the fields, devouring what little remained. Through it all, I watched with hidden satisfaction as both peoples played their parts perfectly. The Egyptian suffering fed Hebrew loyalty, while Pharaoh's stubbornness justified ever-increasing devastation. Darkness engulfed the land for 3 days, thick as a shroud, while light remained in Goshen. The Israelites whispered of escape amid the weight of despair, tethered by the thread of hope I had laced through their bondage.
The final stroke approaches.
The voices declared,
Now they will know true fear.
I gathered the elders, instructing them about the Passover lamb. The blood on their doorposts would mark them as mine, though I claimed it was Yahweh's protection. That night, death stalked through Egypt, claiming the firstborn of both humans and beasts. The pieces of my plot had aligned. The voices urged me forward. I was the destined liberator, a champion for these people. With every terror unleashed, their faith and hope curled tighter around my heart, a bond strong enough to withstand the darkness. The wailing began at midnight.
Take your flocks, your herds, everything you own.
Pharaoh cried.
Just go, and bless me also before you leave.
The Egyptians pressed gold, silver, and fine clothing into Hebrew hands, begging us to depart quickly. As we gathered at the city gates, I gazed upon the multitude, my multitude. Through suffering and signs, through blood and death, I had bound them to me completely.
Excellent.
The murmurs echoed.
You have claimed them entirely, flesh and spirit. Guide them across the desert. Take the treasures, seize my sacred throne, and leave. Their existence bends to your will, and they must guard my ark of the covenant and your decrees with their very life breath.
I raised my staff, and 600,000 pairs of eyes fixed upon me with absolute trust. They had no idea they were merely pawns in a greater game. But the voices knew. The voices always knew. Forward, I commanded, and my people marched into destiny. My destiny. Behind us, Egypt lay in ruins. Before us stretched the wilderness where I would forge these slaves into a weapon. The voices hummed with anticipation as the sun rose on a new era, one that will echo through the ages. For I am Moses, chosen of Yahweh. Or so they believe. And this is only the beginning.
This audio drama is authored, edited, and produced by Mario Portela.